Hey guys, Stealth here, doing Fractured Space, and in this video we're going to look at the Hunter class ship. What exactly does the ship do, what's it good at, and what's it not so good at? First of all, if you look at the Hunter and you see the specs here down the middle, you're going to see that offense, defense, and mobility are all pretty much across the board. They're all pretty average. So it's not going to excel in any one thing, or at least not spec-wise. So if you want, for example, a lot of hit points, if you want a lot of defense, you go for the flagship with its 3,000 points of defense. If you want something that has a ton of offense, you go for the sniper. The hunter sits solidly in the middle and can be further upgraded, although not at this stage in the game. Because if you look at the upgrade tree, you're going to see that it has more engines, so more mobility will be available, but not just yet. This thing isn't implemented just yet. Also, it has some interesting features, and especially the detect feature is something that this ship excels at. With detect, you can detect cloaked ships, and right now there's only one cloaked ship in the game, and that is this ship, the Assassin. This ship, if it cloaks, it's going to be very difficult to attack, of course, unless you know more or less where it went, and it is very difficult to defend against. Now, if you have a hunter class nearby, or if you're flying a hunter class, you can make sure that this doesn't happen to you. You can make sure you can detect the enemy, and if you upgrade this further in a later stage of the game, you're going to have rapid detect, where you can probably use this more often, so that your ship is no longer at risk from the assassin. Another feature that the ship has, which I think has not been implemented yet, is the leech drone. I haven't been able to figure out what the leech drone does. I don't know if it's going after shields or hit points or stuff like that. I think that for now it's just a hollow feature, but if you have any other information on it, please let me know in a comment. Offensively, this thing has missiles and a cannon. Now the missiles are on a cooldown, the cannon also, but less so. So this cannon can be fired more often than the missiles. Keep in mind though that this cannon is not a long-range weapon. This cannon starts to do more damage the closer you get, so that is something that the ship excels at, close quarters warfare. And the blink weapon, or blink feature if you will also assist you in this, because blinking means that you can quickly warp to a target at a certain range. It's not like you can do this from the other half of the map. But if you're close to a target, you can blink, thereby dodging some fire and closing the gap to make sure that your cannons and your missiles all hit and do a ton of damage. So that's pretty much how you play the hunter. Now, as I mentioned before, these features are not implemented in the game yet. They're in here, so they will be unlocked at some point. But right now, which is today, 27th November 2014, they're not unlocked yet. But later on we can upgrade the blink to quick blink and range blink, which will make it a bit better range, I suppose. We can upgrade the missiles to launch proximity mines or to fire torpedoes. And we can have the cannons turn into beams or power beams. So plenty of upgrades available, but not right now. Now one last note, when you're looking at this ship, you might be thinking that this is the rear of the ship. That is not so. This is the bow. So this is the front of the ship. This is the rear. Keep that difference in mind, because you might be thinking that these are probably the engines and that this should be the rear of the ship, because you have the biggest engine facing the rear, like you have for example with the flagship. You got a ton of engines back there. It is however not so. This is the bow, and these things are probably the detectors themselves. So I think that that is what that does, and the engines are over here. You're going to see that as I'm going to jump into some gameplay right now. And with this you can make sure that the ship moves, not this. So don't be mistaken to think that this is the front of the ship, because it's not. Okay, let's see if we can find a server with some people on. I got US West 142. Jumping right into a game. Now, like I mentioned, I'm now flying forwards. So what I'm now looking at is the bow of the ship. These large beams of light are the bow of the ship. This is the rear, and you can see my 4 engines on the bottom of the ship right there. Also, another note to make about this ship is that you can see where my hit points say 10,500. A little to the right of that, you can see 100. That means that right now 100% of my weapons are firing at that target. You can see that I use 4 different turrets for that. If I look to the sides, you're going to see that number change into 50. Actually, yeah, there you go. You're going to see it change into 50 because now I'm firing only 50% of my weapon systems. That means that I'm not going to be as effective firing sideways as I am firing forward. So whenever you use this ship, make sure you come straight at the enemy, you fire all weapons forward, or you make sure that you don't fire too low, because it can fire sideways, just not downwards very well. Then it goes to 50, upwards also goes to 50, because you can see that some of these turrets just don't have the range or the arc to get it. Now, as I'm waiting for the game, you can see that the mobility for this ship is pretty good. It maneuvers pretty well, but once this ship gets upgraded into a tier 2 or tier 3 ship as we go through the gameplay, it's going to be faster and more maneuverable. And that's very good news for us, because with that we can make sure that we have a much better way of getting to our enemies and getting out of weapons fire. Now, since the game hasn't started yet, I can also show you some other features without actually being in combat. The detect feature looks like this. If I press 2, you're going to see a large bubble, and that means that I just deployed my scan. It's something that has a cooldown of 15 seconds, so if there was an assassin inside that scan bubble, I would have found it. And that is, of course, a cloaked assassin, because a normal assassin uncloaked you can just see without having to use the detect. The leech drones I can launch, but I haven't really seen them do anything. Again, if you have any information on what these things do, or maybe you're watching this thing somewhere in 2015, this feature has been implemented and they actually do something. So that would be nice. You got the guns, as I mentioned, the cannons. You got the blink feature, that's my right mouse button, and with that I can quickly jump to a location of my choosing. You can use this as both offensive and defensive. If you're taking a lot of fire and you're flying into an asteroid field like the one over here, you can use your blink feature to quickly get behind these rocks to make sure that those missiles don't hit the target. So if I were to face a lot of missiles, I would deploy over there, and then suddenly these missiles might not hit me. Similarly, if you're engaging a target and you want to close the gap, you just press right mouse button close to a target and you're going to blink towards it. Again, don't expect me to be able to blink to that base, for example, in one go, because that's too far away. But for now, you can use it, and later on when the game gets more features in it, we can use the range blink to possibly get to the other side. Now, I have 2 people on my team, so myself and Ancient versus 3 others, so we're still waiting for 1 or 2 more players. Hopefully that won't be too long. You also see that I have the 1 button, which is for missiles, grayed out, because the missiles need a target. I cannot just blindly fire them at something, I need something to actually fire them at, so I'm going to jump to beta. As we're not actually in the game yet, I can just demonstrate these features. These missiles are not infinite range, they do have a limited range, so don't expect these to hit to the other side of the map. But if I'm locking onto a target, now I can fire these missiles. And of course they won't do any damage right now, but at least this is a good range to hit them at. Now there are no cloaked assassins here right now. There are 2 assassins in the game, so here we go, detecting. And now I just decloaked that assassin with my detect feature. So I'm happy that there's an assassin here, because now I can show you how this thing works. So as we're waiting, and right now in the game, you're going to see this a lot. We're just waiting around for other people to actually join the game. And most of us are just flying around a little, seeing how well maneuverable the ships are, trying to get some shots onto the enemy, but of course all ships are invulnerable, so it doesn't really matter. And sometimes this waiting game takes quite a while, unfortunately. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording here and start recording again when there's actually gameplay to show you, so bear with me. Alright, time for some actual gameplay. I got a team of 4. I got a sniper, a hunter, and another hunter, so we got 3 hunters on one team versus a hunter, an assassin, a flagship, and a disruptor. So they got a very varied team, we do not, and that means that we're gonna have to be clever about this. Seems that my entire team went left, so I'm going left as well. There's no point in me going to beta 2 to make sure that I can capture that when there's that many enemies around. Now keep in mind that with the blink feature on the hunter, you can also quickly bridge terrain. So since there's no need to use this offensively or defensively, I can use it to move around a bit faster. And we can already see our first target over here, which seems to be the flagship. And I'm thinking that since there's no assassin, or sorry, no sniper, I don't have to be on the lookout for something that's sniping any of our forces. So for now, just capturing terrain. It seems that our sniper is definitely doing some damage to that ship. I don't really have a good look on it right now. There it is. Yeah, it's done quite a bit of damage. And it's jumping away to safety. So unfortunately he made it out. And you can see that on the right side in beta 1, beta 2 they're already capturing that area. So that area is definitely theirs. Capture this mining facility. As Die 9500 is going to capture that base, I'll capture this fob to make sure we can get repaired and upgraded. By the way, if you haven't noticed it yet, upgrading is done automatically. There is no animation for it, there's no real information given on what is upgraded, other than you can see your hit points go up, and maybe your damage and your cooldowns go down a little bit. It's not really noticeable. So I'm hoping that later on in the game development they're going to put up a sort of pop-up where it says, okay, you've been upgraded to tier 2. You can now use your detect feature a bit more often. Say you now have a detect feature cooldown of 10 seconds instead of 15. But doing that, they give a lot more information about... Whoa, this is not good. That hurt. Okay, firing off whatever I have. And the assassin is definitely out to get me. So blinking away. And he cloaked, so time to use the detect feature on him. He got detected. This is Badger Wookie, and Badger is going to be badgered quite a lot by both Poverlock and whatever. I'm just gonna call him Jack. So, where is this guy? If I was that assassin, I would be going for me, because I'm the wounded ship over here. Now you can see I'm not doing an awful lot of damage yet, but the moment I get closer, that's when the ship starts to do damage. You're not going anywhere, mister. Now because I am in a base, I'm also getting repaired, while doing a decent amount of damage per shot. Come on. Yeah, he went for me again. Firing off the missiles. He's trying to get away, probably. Going to blink to his location. I do not want to let this ship get away. Unfortunately, the detector is still on cooldown. Still 4v4, so that's good. Come on, where's this assassin? There he is. Come on, take him out. Almost got him. Damn it! Come here, you. There he is. Missiles away. I think he's out of range from my main guns, but maybe the missiles can still get him. Not when he cloaks, of course. Trying to get back in the sphere of influence of this fob to get repaired, because those constant strikes from that assassin are definitely causing me a lot of hit point loss. No idea where that assassin went. He might have jumped out, because he's not here anymore. So it looks like we got solid control over Alpha. They got solid control over Bravo. And the resources right now are pretty tied. So we're going to have to capture some of their bases to get an advantage. And it seems like one of our ships even did a try at capturing their main base. Okay, the main sector Gamma is not going to be open yet. They open after, I believe, currently 8 minutes. So we're going to have to be patient before we can capture that, but we can use it as a transit hub. And with that we can jump to Beta 1. Okay, I'm taking some fire. Hopefully not too much. Joshua is here. Joshua is flying a Hunter class. So he can do pretty much the same tricks I can. I think he jumped out. Gonna wait for my jump drive to cool down. And it seems like we got another contact in Alpha. Okay, moving to Bravo. Or Beta as they call it. Now the fob is interesting, but I don't really need it right now. What we need is income, so that we can upgrade our ships further. And that is going to give us the advantage. Now over here we got the guy called Jack. And the first kill of the game, I think. And of course one of the guys already left. That's something that this game really suffers from at the moment. People leaving. And with people leaving, the other team gets a major disadvantage because they get no other bonuses or reinforcements of any kind. There's no bot jumping in. So they don't really have enough ships to capture terrain, hold down terrain, making sure that they get enough resources. So in the end, this is just, well, pretty much the start of the end for them. The beginning of the end. Okay, we got a flagship right here. Cannot log on to him yet. Okay, let's see if I can do some damage to this ship. I think he's flying, yeah, he's flying a flagship. That means I do not want to get too close to that flagship. I do want to do some damage to him. Okay, that's a lot of missiles. Blinking away. And with that blink I dodged a lot of fire from that capital ship. Firing up my salvo. I can use my detector, but I don't think that Badger Wookiee is out here, but you never know. So, pulsing. Another ship's over here, but not him. So our sniper Jack is doing a good job at taking this ship down. And yeah, he gets him. In the meanwhile, I'm also getting engaged, using the rock as cover. Trying to blink behind that ship next. And he should be right on top of him now. Come on, lock on. Sometimes this ship takes a bit of time to lock on, so you're gonna have to be patient sometimes. There you go, this thing's going down. If not through me, then through my sniper. I'm just descending vertically now. Trying to get as much damage done on this ship. Surprisingly, he's not using his missiles. And that is costing him quite a bit of DPS. There you go. Miles Dyson. Oh, actually, he wasn't flying a Hunter, he was flying a Disruptor. Disruptors don't really have that much offensive capabilities, so that's the reason why he didn't do so much damage to me. But now it's 4v2, so this game is going to be over pretty soon. So I got 1 kill, 2 assists. 2 others got, or everybody on my team got a kill. Only Badger Wookiee, the assassin, got a kill, and Disruptor only got death. Only got 1 death. He didn't even get an assist for anything. There's starting to get a major difference in the points. We got a lot more than they do. And oh damn, he disabled my weapon systems. That's something that these guys can do. Nasty looking ships, these Disruptors. But they're not very heavily armored. And that is something that I can use. So, trying to do as much damage here. Trying to focus my damage onto his right side. Or starboard, if you will. And with that, I might be able to punch down that shield low enough. But this thing is getting repaired. That is something that the disruptor does. And those things make sure that they can repair themselves. You really have to put a lot of damage onto this target before it's going to be actually killed. I think I just took out my starboard shield. I'm still not sure if I would class these things as ships or as spacecraft, so the likes of airplanes, I should say. I suppose you could call them capital ships. That's what the studio calls them. So then we should be talking about starboard and port. So right and left. Oh fuck. I had not expected that assassin. Should have, but didn't. Missiles away. And now I really have to run for my life because I don't want to get this guy behind me. Like that. Trying to blink away. There you go. I'm going to put as much ground between me and that assassin and try to use these rocks as cover. Because I'm not in a good position to engage him right now. I know he's behind me somewhere. That's the station I want to go to, where die 9500 is, because that's where I can get repaired. Oh shit. Oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. Getting repaired. I almost didn't make it out alive. But this is a good illustration of how you can use the blink feature both offensively and defensively. That is, until another assassin shows up. I'm just gonna jump away from here. I do not want a fight with that assassin, not in my current weakened state. So jumping to the middle, where Poverlock is also headed. And from there I want to travel to A1, or B1, if I can make it that far. And then I can make sure I get repaired, do some damage, kill that assassin, win the game. Pretty much that's the order of business for now. So, I'm not the only one who thinks that. I also got Jack over here. Jack, who is covering this base, he's a sniper. And he's doing some damage, or trying to get some damage onto that disruptor class. Yeah, there's Badger Wookie, there's the assassin. Now it's going to take a while before I get repaired, but I do want to keep eyes on the situation. And I'm going to constantly ping off my detector to make sure that that assassin doesn't suddenly get the jump on me. So, Poverlock took him out. Well played there. And you can see that by now the game is practically over. We got 13,000 resources and tier 3 ships. They got 4,000 points of research or resources and only 4 tier 1 ships. We're with the 4 of us, they're with the 2 of them, so this is just over. At this point I do feel sorry for that team, because there's absolutely no point in continuing to play. There's just no way that these guys can still win. Alright. Badger Wookie is still on the other side of the map. Pretty much in the middle there. I think I'm gonna have to jump in there. Poverlock is flying a detector ship as well. Hello. Where are you headed? Oh damn, he cloaked. Oh no, actually he got destroyed. Okay, ship completely repaired. Going to Team 1 base. I know that A1's being captured. So that means that there should not be an enemy at their main base, which means I can capture it. Or at least do some capping to it. Now in this case situation, the blink feature is also very handy, because with it you can quickly blink in and out of the cap. And if you're taking too much hit point loss, you're going to blink outside of the cap, stop your hit point loss, get repaired at say B1 or A1, and get back in. Now this thing luckily has quite a bit of hit points at tier 3, so I can make it out here or I can stay in here for a while. Still don't want to stay in here for too long. If I can capture this thing, say halfway or 40%, that's good. But now it's just 3v1, so this thing is completely hopeless. Okay, blinking away from this base and jumping back to beta 1. Captured half their base. Now at this point in the game I think it gets a little boring because you're just flying back and forth to capture. If you have any good ideas on how you could improve that capture mechanic, how you can keep the later stages of the game interesting, please let me know in the comments so I can pass it on to the developers. Because they are actively accepting our input, they want our feedback on how we can make this game more fun, more interesting and more challenging. So if you have any good ideas based on this gameplay and the gameplay that you could have seen in other videos on this game, please let me know so I can pass it on. For now, just being repaired. You can see it does take a while. You get, what is that? About 240, 270 hit points every time. Somehow the rear of my ship seems to be still on fire. I suppose that's interesting because there's supposedly no air in space. And I think that fire needs air to fuel itself, but okay. But then again, otherwise we wouldn't have explosions in space of capital ships, so game mechanics. Oh, this is interesting, they completely left. There's no team 2 left. Alright. Capping it out, and then we're done. Normally that fire animation at the rear of the ship will disappear, because you just don't have any... when you don't have any damage, you don't have that damage animation. But I don't think that this is supposed to happen. I think it's a little bugged. So capturing the base again. Hope that this video gave you a good idea of how to use the Hunter. It's a ship that you use close in. These weapons are not long range, not even the missiles, so get close to your target, use the blink to get there quickly. Use the detect feature to aid your team in detecting and killing assassins, and when you find those you can be sure that you're an asset to your team. You can also take on other ships like the flagship, which is very heavily armored, but you do need a bit more patience for that, because those things can do a lot of damage at short range and you don't really do that much. So make sure that if you're attacking a flagship or something that big, come in from a side or come in from the bottom, which is safest. Do a lot of damage to one area of the ship, and if you do it like that, you have a good chance of making it out alive and doing a ton of damage to the ship. So with that, that's the end of this gameplay video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit like. If you have any questions or tips on how to improve the game or the gameplay, please leave a comment so I can pass it on to the developers. And if you want to see more of Fractured Space, I have a couple more videos up, and I will be getting more videos up. So thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you around.